300 nautical miles in the ocean. That's how far these boats have already travelled before most Sydney, or every Sydney owner has taken delivery. That's impressive. Like, if that doesn't give you or instill confidence in the boat that you've bought, I don't know what will. We're on the 4600, the Riviera 4600 Sport Yacht Platinum. This is the test drive. We're going to do some ocean driving. We're heading straight out into the ocean right now. Then we're going to go inshore and we'll find out what this boat is like in the flat water and a little bit of manoeuvring at the end. If you're interested in this boat and want to do a detailed walkthrough with us, that is a separate video. I'll link to that at the end of this display. So keep watching and you can check that out as well. It will be a long and detailed one, I warn you. I have a tendency to talk a lot. Dan Jones is my name. I'm here with my mate, Nicole.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. You got the day off work today.
Thank you.
So yeah, we're just gonna go straight out into the ocean. Let's get rolling. I reckon there's gonna be a lot of you who've already bought this very boat and are interested or want to discover what she's like to drive. I suspect, or actually know, many of you would have already placed orders for this boat and haven't had an opportunity because she's the brand new model for the Sport Yacht range. And 4600 they call it. She's actually 49 feet LOA, so she's essentially a 50 footer. Just bringing the speed up through 19 knots, and we're going to increase a little bit more. And we're just going straight into the ocean, guys. I've got it on manual trim setting at the moment. We're going through about a metre of waves and into some northeast breeze. I'm going to go into the wind today, and then we're going to turn downwind and go down some waves and give you the full experience. So just maintaining that speed right now at 19 knots. I'm actually going to bring it up and level the boat out a little bit more by giving us a tad more speed, because she just feels like she wants it. There we go. What a beautiful morning. Okay, so the reason why I'm coming into the ocean is because Rivieras are known for their sea-keeping abilities or their sea-keeping qualities, and a boat like this really is something you would happily take up and down the coast. Here we are, we're doing this straight into some short and sharp waves. This is going to be coming up on the camera, and she's just taking it like a champ. So let's turn downwind now and run with these waves, just so it's a little bit easier for me to focus and talk to you on the camera, because I find the downwind runs a little bit easier for me to concentrate. Okay, heel angle is really predictable, just like what I experienced on the 5400. They're not aggressive on the heel angles, even out here at sea. Okay, so doing that turn at 22 knots, there you go. Let's settle into a little bit of a groove here. What we'll do, we'll make a beeline for the lighthouse, and we might hug the rocks just to get you some pretty pictures and just talk to you about what we're experiencing. So settling the boat into a speed of 24 knots, I've got a litres per mile sitting at 7.1 litres per mile. Total fuel flow is actually 186 litres, and she's comfortable. She's comfortable. Word of warning, guys, if you, Nicole's not my partner, but if you have a partner and you desire taking her out to sea, just be strategic about it. Don't take her out the first time you take the boat. Be strategic, plan your journey, know your boat, and then prepare where you're going to go, because bashing through some waves can be a little bit unnerving for people if it's their first time. You've been offshore with me a few times.
I love the waves.
Yeah, see, but you're also a qualified commercial pilot, so you can handle things. But and I'm not saying other people can't, but it's just warn your guests before you go belting through calm waters and then into offshore conditions, and just don't even go until you know you and your boat and your guests are prepared for it. I would have absolute confidence in going offshore in a Riviera. I've tested many of them over the years on my brokerage business, which I no longer do, but I just recently took the 5400. I'll link to that video in the description below, which is just the bigger sister of this, the 5400 Sport Platinum. And they run level, they run quite secure, you have a real sense of security, and they run reasonably efficiently for what is. We're running a 19.2 ton boat. We got 2,100 litres of fuel. We got about 610 litres of water and 150 plus of holding tanks. So we're easy over the 20 ton mark of overall displacement. By the time you load it, you might be pushing 23, 24 tons. So there's a lot of boat there, but that displacement just gives you a feeling of comfort when you're rolling through the ocean, and a sense of security when you bash into a couple of those big waves, because there's just, well, listen, can you hear the rattles? You know, we've got the back door open.
Yeah.
And like, that's not intrusive. I'm not even
not
really.
At all.
Normally I raise my voice a lot in these videos because I want people to hear me, and over the sound of the engines, but I don't even really feel the necessity to in this boat.
No.
I'm at the standing position right now. I've got a footrest just here, so I could actually just sit up on the end of the bolstered seat and drive like this.
Yeah.
But I think for long distances, I'd need to put it in Dan mode.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely need to put the seat forward. So you can't actually even reach that footrest.
Nah.
But it does slide forward.
But I don't need it.
You don't need it right now. It's a very...
I'm relaxed. Yeah.
Oh my God. How good's this? Okay, I can drive with my foot.
I was going to say you can drive with your feet.
You can just have the autopilot on. I mean, this is living, but I feel a little bit more secure at the standing position, because there's a lot of paddlers, there's a lot of fishermen, a lot of divers around here. The last thing I want to do, because when I do sit back in that position, I personally at 5'7" lose some visibility.
Yeah.
So
I want to be in control.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll just keep maintaining that speed. Look, yes, there's a couple of buoys in the water, which I might have missed had I been from the seated position.
Probably.
Yep. Still just sitting on that 7. The fuel flow through these waves, it's gone from 7.1 to 7.5 litres per nautical mile. So pretty consistent, considering we are going through quite messy waves. And we'll go and find some more messy waves. We'll get a little bit close to the cliffs there just to get some nice pictures for you guys and expose the boat to a few more waves. And then I will speed her up a bit more as we go into the flatter water. So motors wise, we're running the Volvo IPS 800s. That does not mean 800 horsepower. They are a 600 horsepower unit. Just starting my turn now, going in towards the rocks. Again, don't do this at home, guys, if you're not comfortable with your boat or your abilities. This would be a dangerous scenario, driving close to rocks if you weren't prepared. So I'm just doing this for the photos. Don't copy me unless you're confident in your boat. There we go, maintaining a speed of 23.8 knots right now. Fuel flow is consistent. I'm going to increase that speed a little bit. And we'll hug these rocks. Isn't this beautiful? This is what I love about sports yachts. There's a couple of things I love. I'm operating the vessel. You can be sitting next to me. My mates can be sitting in that lounge just there. We could be doing a trip to Pittwater or to Nelson Bay, and we're not going to beat ourselves up. We're here in the air conditioning. You know, we've done it on excess catamarans, that trip. I mean, I love catamarans, I love sailing, but that's a whole different environment, because you're not so exposed on a catamaran. You're much more exposed on a monohull, but you are exposed. And then those open speedboats that we've done it in, it's a lot of fun, but you wouldn't want to sustain those sorts of speeds for long periods of time. Like, I mean, I wouldn't, would you?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I feel like if I'm doing the serious holiday stuff, this is the sort of boat you want to do it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've got the wonderful layout downstairs from an accommodation perspective, which we'll go through in the walkthrough. Just got some waves coming from our starboard aft quarter right now, so the boat's bouncing around a little bit. I've increased the revs just a tad, and I'm sitting on 24 to 24 and a half knots. My fuel consumption per mile has only gone up to 8 litres per nautical mile, which is quite interesting actually. Yeah, that's fascinating. All right, let's increase our speed just a tad more. Yeah, so there's a noticeable leveling of the boat's attitude at 24 knots plus, and at only 8 litres to 8.2 that I'm seeing per nautical mile right now, going through, well, you can see the waves. I would suggest, if you're wanting to get fuel economy and best cruise offshore, to keep that speed over the 24 knot mark. I'm hovering at 26, and I just saw the odd 27 plus down a couple of those waves. And that fuel flow's just, it's almost 8 litres, 8.3. Okay, that's the highest I've just seen. So that's quite interesting for a 50-foot boat, essentially almost a 50-foot boat, and 20 plus tons fully loaded. We're currently running with 1,100 litres with 2,100 total capacity. So we've got about half fuel on board. We're just going to go around the south head here, and once we've tucked around these waves and get into the inshore part of the harbour, I'm going to open the speed up. I'll go wide of this boat here.
Yeah.
Lovely. Really, really good. So in terms of the trim settings, I've been trimming on manual just there, but you also have the trim assist. Now the trim assist, you can change that setting. That's auto trim, and essentially we are talking about the Volvo interceptor plates that come down on the back of the boat. But the reason why you can change those settings is some of you might mount a dinghy on the back, some of you might mount a jet ski on the back, some of you might mount nothing. So depending on what you have on the swim platform, that's going to change your center of gravity. Putting any weight on the back of a boat really does have the greatest effect, because leverage out the back there is going to change that center point quite noticeably. So that's just going to mean your trim is going to need to be adjusted. So we'll just have a little play with the trim assist now. Just going downwind. So I notice in the current factory settings, I've just activated the auto trim assist, it's raised the bow. So if I was going down swell or downwind with the current settings, I feel like I would drive with the trim assist on when I'm going down swell or downwind, and I would probably deactivate the trim assist when I'm going up swell, because I personally, you don't have to do this, but I personally like to have that sort of control when it comes to lowering my nose. Whenever I'm in, going into some waves, going into some wind, I want to get the maximum amount of cutting action of that bow entering the water rather than the flatter section underneath the boat, because that's going to give me a more comfortable ride. So we are sitting on 28.6 knots, 7.4 litres a nautical. This is an efficient hull for a big bird. Man, let's give it some more. Got the trim assist on. Okay, 29 knots, 30 knots. Wow, what a slippery thing. You know, we're just sitting on 8 litres at, I'm seeing a 32 knot downwind GPS speed right now. I'm gonna, I've got a ferry there, so I'm just gonna adjust my course. We might turn before all this traffic. Actually, I'll go behind him.
It, yeah.
I'll go behind him. So now let's just give it wide open throttle. There we are. Wide open throttle, 32 knots. 32 knots easy, going through the ferry wash there. And what I might do is actually slow the boat down now. So at 32 knots, by the way, flat waters, trim assist, 7.7 litres. The fuel flow went down. That's insane. All clear to starboard. Just going to go a hard turn, go behind this ferry so we don't piss off all these fishermen here. Okay, we'll level that up. And just bringing the boat back to that 27 knot cruise speed. Trim assist is still on, and let's just play with that again and slow the boat down while we're in the flat water here. So 26 knots, 25 knots, feels 24 knots. It almost feels slow. I'm still seeing 7.3 litres a nautical mile.
Yeah.
Look at the bow, how it just settles in a little bit more comfortably at that 27 knots to 28 knots. I think if you're in flat water, just cruise this boat at 27 to 28 knots, guys. Do 30 knots if you want. You only just got a marginal increase in fuel burn per nautical mile. And if you're offshore, I think that's when we sit it between that 22 to 24, resort back to the manual trim if necessary. And then let's just come off the plane here. She makes a bit of a wave. I think that's to be expected with a boat of this size and caliber. So just bleed off that speed intelligently and try not to bring too much water onto the back of the boat. So I'm going to talk about the details at the dash in more detail during the walkthrough, but a couple of things I just want to point out whilst we are here. Offshore conditions, you often need to operate your windscreen wipers. A lot of boats have them hidden somewhere up on the dash, and when you're trying to focus on driving through those waves, reaching down as you're bouncing around to try and find the button for the windscreen wiper, it's really annoying and sometimes not that easy to do. So they have intelligently just put it on your port side immediately behind the joystick, so you just reach back with your left hand and you left wiper is on the left and starboard wiper is on the right, and then windscreen washer, it's in the middle. So that's, from an operational perspective, really handy to see. I can also control my Seakeeper gyro stabilizer, which is just forward of the joystick. So we did do that run with the gyro on because it's just more comfortable. And now let's transition to docking mode, and let's just see how she feels with the joystick. So I'll just stop the boat. I've got it in low mode. And now I'm just going to spin the boat on the dime.
So what are you doing?
So what's happening, we've got counter-rotational forward-facing drives underneath the boat, which are just forward about 20 degrees from 20% from the back of the boat, and they can move independently 30 degrees off center either direction.
Oh yeah.
So like, unlike, say when we have those outboard boats, you see me steering the wheel left and right and mucking around with the bow thruster, this thing's just doing all of that thinking for us, and I just turn this joystick. See how we've just turned in our own. So that's quite effective. And some IPS boats are a little bit awkward to use, and that's down to the hull weight and the hull design. This one, from what I'm feeling, is just pretty predictable. We'll just point it into the wind and we'll slip the boat to the left. So watch this, Nicole. When I do the joystick to the left, the whole boat, check that out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're just moving to the left. So that's how you just do a rock star park. And it's worth noting, this window slides back here. So you can stay here and do it. Perhaps if you were coming in on port side, I actually wouldn't do that because we've got a joystick control station out the back of the boat.
Oh yeah.
So you would just leave the helm, activate the joystick out the back there, and you can see everything. So, but this feels super predictable. It's really good. Guys, I have to say I'm not surprised. Riviera is one of the best quality boats you can buy, but if you're looking for something that is ultra capable for ocean journeys, that is very, very high quality, so it's going to be predictable on the maintenance and it's not going to let you down with regular use, then you just absolutely have to consider the Riviera 4600 Sport Platinum. If you're interested in a detailed walkthrough video on this boat, click on the link coming up on the screen right now. Thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys.